It's kind of like when you eat food and the food is so delicious that you end up not saying anything. Hello, beautiful! Today, we will be reviewing the new Eldridge foundation. So if you would like to see how this beautiful contraption works and if it is worth it, then just keep watching. I love making beauty product review videos for you, and I also love trying out new makeup like this foundation. So if you're also into that, make sure to subscribe to the channel and also make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. And that's it. Let's hop into the video. The Eldridge foundation comes in 40 shades, contains 30 milliliters or 1 fluid ounce, and retails for $44 on her website. This foundation is designed to be skin friendly with medium coverage. However, you can build it up to a heavy full coverage. It claims to easily blend into the skin and create a smooth finish with a soft focus effect. The finish should look skin-like, that's both dewy and matte. Lastly, it is fragrance, alcohol, and talc free, and suitable for sensitive skin. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the box with you on camera because I personally like seeing the packaging of my products. So upon opening it up, we have little messages here. On this flap it says, "I hope you enjoy wearing my makeup. Tag me on Instagram or use hashtag. I can't wait to see. Love, Lisa." And then on this it says, "My shipping boxes and tissue papers are recyclable, so please recycle them." I really love her logo. It's lips with a mole on it. I love that. Off first glance, her box, the packaging is different from other brands that I've seen, and I really appreciate that. It was also really easy to open here. You just like pulled this strap right here. I really appreciate that. I don't know how many people actually care about the outer packaging, but I find it like kind of special, and I feel like it shows something about the brand when they take like a few extra steps to think about stuff like that. So it was really easy to open. Seeing this on the flap is very special and nice. And even as we open it up, there's like a little flap here as well. I don't know if that's like a thing from Europe. They have their packaging differently, but I've received a lot of like packaging from brands where they just like literally throw it in a black like envelope bag and then that's it. And I know we throw away our packaging, but it's also like a first impressions kind of thing. So yeah, I'm not gonna get too in detail about that, but I just really like it when they also consider the outer packaging as well. And also I know they probably spend a little bit more money on this style of packaging, so it's appreciated. All right, so opening it up, I have the receipt here, and then we've got lots of tissue, which you should because this bottle is just so nice. And then we have the packaging. After seeing this packaging, I realized that I definitely need to try out more of her products because this is my style of packaging. I'm on like a white kick right now where I just like love white everything. Last year I loved pink everything, as you can see from my background, but at the moment I'm just so in love with the color white. So this packaging style is totally up my alley. When you get her foundation, you do get a free foundation sample card. This is very unique. I have never seen anyone do this before, but it's also really genius. And like I said, every little step that she takes, I want you to really think about it because it's showing just how much detail and attention she's putting into her product. It really feels like she's not just another influencer out there who's trying to sell something. It just shows how passionate she is about making a really good product. And these sample cards really show that because it allows us to make sure we are getting our true foundation match. It also saves them a little bit of money so that we don't have to go and return our foundation. But anyways, this is super helpful. We got these for free. If you do not buy anything from her site, you will have to pay for this. This is the box. Let's open it up. Okay, there is a little sticker on the back. I'm gonna just open it up. What does this remind me of? Wow, this is a very sturdy case. This feels very, very luxurious. Like you can hear just how thick this box is. I love that. It's all about the detail. She has a card in here. I forgot what this like makes me think of. Not a perfume. Maybe, yeah, like a perfume, and almost like a piece of really expensive technology. That's what it makes me think of. And it's like a little set of jewelry that's standing on this like pedestal. I love it. I have never seen foundation packaging like this ever before. This is definitely up there with luxury makeup, not department store, but high-end luxury makeup. I'm talking about like $100 and over type products. Love this. I think she also did this because in her video she said that, you know, you can also you can have the foundation just stand up there like that. So I think that's why they designed the packaging like this, so that you can do that. That's definitely something I would do. Like once I have my own like makeup room, I definitely would have it standing up like this. So because of that, I'm actually going to save this packaging. So good thing I thought about that. Also, in addition to that, you definitely can reuse this box because it is so sturdy. It's like the same type of sturdiness that you would get from an iPhone, if not sturdier than that. So this is the absolutely gorgeous packaging. For some reason, I thought it was going to be flat when I saw it online, but it is pretty curvy and thick, and it comes in a frosted glass, which I love. I love the golden top. This foundation just speaks and screams luxury. I love it. Definitely has that sophisticated look, a little bit more mature as well. It's just so different, and I really appreciate that because she made her foundation different, and then she also made it, in my eyes, look really cool. I love this style of packaging so much. I love the shape of it. This foundation is meant to sit on its side like this. So that's how you would store it. I will say though, it is a bit more on the bulkier side. I feel like, how many ounces is this? Okay, this is 1 ounce, so you could still travel with it on the plane, but it's just a bit on the bulkier side. Like I said, I personally don't mind that whatsoever because it's going to fit in my makeup drawer nonetheless. But you know, traditional foundation bottles tend to look like this. So this, as you can see, is just a little bit bulkier, but like I said, I don't mind. I love the frosted glass, and overall I just give the packaging a complete A+. It's stunning. Love the frosted glass, love the top, and then when you open it, ooh, that's a nice filter too. Like, look how thick the cap is. Just is crazy. Like, I feel like you can save this and reuse it. This is the applicator. Love this style of applicator. And I have to say, this is probably the prettiest packaged foundation I have seen so far. I would say the #1 nicest foundation bottle would definitely be the Gucci, because I love how they have this like kind of a pinkish top, and then again comes in a frosted bottle, although this one looks a little bit more frosted. So I don't know, what do you think? Which one do you think looks nicer? I don't know, maybe this Lisa Eldridge might be a little bit better. Also, just recently picked up the Giorgio Armani. This one's nice, but definitely Lisa Eldridge looks better. It also looks bigger too. But they both come in a frosted glass, and then they have these cute little short applicators. The cap does have a shape to it as well, so you will have to kind of line it up with the shape of the bottle. But yeah, I don't know. I love this. This is so cute. I just love how she came out with a different shaped bottle. Okay, let's go ahead and try this on. So what I'm gonna do before I try the foundation, I do wanna make sure I am getting my perfect match. So I am gonna go into these sample cards and apply it and see which one is going to be the most fitting for me. But it would be cool if they had like a little sticker attachment or something like that that you would have to first remove, so that first you can use these samples, and then if you find your perfect match, you can go ahead and return this, and then they would be able to resell it. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and, at least, if anything, if this foundation doesn't work, I can return it and then know which shade to get next time. Before I am going to do one side of my face with primer. I just always use my Benefit Professional Primer. I always like to see how the foundation looks on its own. So on one side, we're just going to have foundation alone, and then on the other side, it will be with primer. This is the primer that I always like to use because it just hides my pores. And it also helps to make the foundation look better throughout the day. So this is just my current favorite foundation. I always use it. And I find that when I don't use this primer, I definitely notice my pores a lot more. So that's why I just always end up using this primer, even though I do have other primers. When I'm filming and when I'm taking lots of pictures, I just like to use this primer because I know that it's going to hide those pores. I'm not gonna have to like go in and use a filter to smooth my face because this primer is going to do it for me. And like I said, this is a primer that will jazz up your foundation. It will make your foundation look softer, a little bit more luminous, I guess. But Lisa Eldridge does say that you can just go in with a really good skincare and use that as your primer. She did list out a few recommendations for primers, but overall, she just suggests that you use your favorite primer, use whatever primer you would like. It's definitely going to change up the way this foundation looks. So if you want the foundation to be more matte, you use a matte primer. If you want it to be even more dewy, then use a hydrating primer. Overall, you really don't have to use a primer. You could just do a really good skincare routine, have her apply a really good moisturizer, and you're good to go. While the primer sets into my skin, I'm gonna go in with some of the samples according to what I think will work for me. So I'm just gonna go in with all four and we're gonna see which one works the best. I'm just gonna put a little dot. She says to take the foundation in order to color match and really just stroke it and rub it into your skin. And make sure when you're color matching that you're not using your wrist. You want to apply it on your jaw right here because you're going to get the closest match that way. And then as you start blending it in, basically if it disappears and you don't see it anymore, that's going to be your match. She said this. Also, I went to a Sephora color specialist and they also suggested that I match the foundation this way. So if you ever like go into Sephora or anything, you want to get color matched, just go in with like a bare face or your favorite primer. Okay, so that was number 20. Now we're gonna go in with number 19. There's actually a decent amount of foundation in this. Like I feel like you can use this for your entire face. Foundation is so messy, I'm getting it everywhere. Okay, and then I'm gonna apply this like in the center. They both just melted into my skin. So far, the best one has been shade 19. And then we're gonna go in with 17, which most likely will be too light. That's really cool. So she said that she came out with 40 shades and that there's just such a large shade range that it makes her foundation different from others. So it makes sense why like 4 different foundations would work for you. Then I'm gonna put this one here. And then use my middle finger and then just put that in. Yep, this one is too light. Thank goodness I did not get this shade. See, that one was too light as well, but it wasn't bad. Like you can see that I could get away with using all of these different foundations. So it's kind of good too, because if you do get one that's like not, I don't know, I just feel like it's going to make it more difficult for you to mess up because you have like, or in my case, I have like 4 different foundation colors to choose from. I'm still gonna go in and open up number 18 because if it's like way off, then maybe I'll just use one of these samples to test out her foundation today. I have foundation on my keyboard and my monitor. Perfect. All right, so Lisa Eldridge said that she just likes to use her fingers, and then she also likes using a flat foundation brush. She said that a lot of the people that she put it on, they preferred a flat foundation brush. Also, some people preferred a fluffy brush. Unfortunately, she did not talk about using a beauty blender. I always use beauty blenders, or beauty sponges, I should say. So that's what I'm gonna use today. But I do want to do it like how she does it, so I will do one side of my face with my fingers. The non-primer side will be the side that I use my fingers, and that's going to be more identical to what like Lisa Eldridge would do, because all she did was put a very nice moisturizer on her face. I'm using Shiseido moisturizer, which is a very nice moisturizer. So we'll have one side be more identical to how she does it, and then the side with the primer is going to be the side that how I would do it. So I think that's perfect. That's a great way to use this foundation. You always have to pump a few times in order to get it out. Okay. So she said the pump, the amount that comes out is going to be very small, just because she thinks that some people are heavy-handed. You don't have to worry about pumping out too much. I think she said that just this one pump she can actually use on her entire face if she's going for a more like natural look. Okay, so clearly I don't need any concealer after this. Please don't tell me that Lisa Eldridge is about to create the best foundation ever. This feels, it just feels great. It feels like definitely a formula or a texture I haven't really experienced too much. I really don't know how to describe it. I feel like if I try to describe it, I'm just gonna mess up the description of how it feels. Wow. That looks amazing. It looks like your skin. I have zero complaints with this foundation. I'm a little like, what's the word? I am a skeptic because I don't have any complaints and I want to just be like, this is the best foundation I have ever put on my face. But I'm very doubtful of that because I have a lot of foundations. I've tried a lot of foundations. I have favorites. I've just tried some amazing foundations, especially lately. So I am very doubtful when I say that this might be like the best foundation I've ever put on. So I'm gonna give it a little bit more time before I say that. But as of now, like, I feel like I want to say that because the way it glided onto my skin was just so beautiful. Like it felt soft. There was a little bit of like a dewiness to it, but like dewiness mixed with a little bit of like a matte. Definitely has that like satiny feel, and I just haven't felt a formula like this before on my skin. It almost felt like if you could get something to mimic how your skin feels, this would be the closest thing to it. I think that's it. I think that's the best way to describe this foundation. Also, when I put it underneath my eyes, it just instantly acted like a concealer, but one of the best concealers I've ever worn. I'm looking at myself on camera right now, and you could definitely see like the smoothness that it's creating. And it was instant, like instant. I love it off first impression. And this was just one layer and half of a pump. Like, it's probably more intended to use a full pump, but I just used half of a pump. So you can see it's not heavy coverage right now, but it's still just like completely smoothed out my skin. It's kind of like a primer, like a smoothing primer and a foundation in one. I got smooth skin, just one layer, but it still looks like my skin. You could totally still see my skin peeking through. I love it so much, I don't even want to go in with a second layer because like I just don't want to ruin this. I like it so much. I'm really happy that I did use my fingers because it taught me something. I think maybe I need to start using my fingers from now on because it's perfect. Okay, going in with my beauty sponge again. I'm doing half a pump. Let's see how this turns out. Ooh, okay. I found a con. It does dry down quickly. I don't know if it's drying down or what, but it is having some patchy spots, so you will probably have to work with this really fast, especially if you are using a beauty sponge. Okay, I think this is probably why she didn't use a beauty sponge. Wow, I definitely like my fingers a lot more. I'm so happy I used my fingers. So with the beauty sponge, maybe I have to apply a little bit more. I feel like I got less product when I used the beauty sponge. And then as I was dabbing it into my skin, I could see like the little patches of where I would put the foundation. And so I really had to just go in and work and try to blend that into my skin. That is a bit of an issue because I'm always using my beauty sponge. That's just what I use. And the reason why is because I don't like using my fingers. As you saw earlier from the video, I just don't like getting foundation everywhere. All of my stuff is white. As I said earlier in the video, I'm onto the white stuff. But yeah, I don't like using my fingers. So I guess next time I will have to go in with my foundation brush, my flathead foundation brush, but it is a bit of a bummer because like I said, I'm just always using my beauty sponge. But like I said, it's nice knowing I'm probably like one of the only people that's actually going to complain about that. But I just wish I could use my beauty sponge with this, but it doesn't look like it's going to work out that way. It's also a lot more sheer when I use my beauty blender. Okay, so that's the side with the beauty blender, and this is the side with my fingers. It's kind of weird, but it looks like the side that I put the primer. This is the side I put the primer on, and yet it looks like this side is the side that I put the primer on. That's why it's kind of confusing me. So with that said, we have pore control in this foundation. And with that said, you definitely do not need to use the Benefit Professional Primer. You definitely do not need a primer with this foundation. If you are going to use a primer, I would say use a primer that's either matte or dewy. If you want the foundation to be more matte, use a matte primer. Or if you want it to be more dewy, use a dewy primer. But if you do not care and you're fine with the way the foundation looks on its own, then just use a good moisturizer, because a primer is absolutely not necessary. I honestly feel like she put a primer in this foundation, and that's how it is able to like blur out the pores a little bit and make the skin look softer, because that's the effect I usually get from my primer. Like that's what I usually get from my Benefit Professional Primer. I'm gonna go, just because I feel like I have to do this, I'm gonna go in with a second layer on both sides of my face, and I'm gonna use my fingers because the beauty blender is just not doing it. I just feel like I wasted product using my beauty blender. So this is the side with the primer that I used the beauty sponge, and I'm gonna go in and just use my fingers. It's kind of like when you eat food and the food is so delicious that you end up not saying anything. That's how I feel about this foundation. Like I don't have anything to say because it's so good. I don't know, I just feel like it's easier to speak when you have complaints as opposed to like good things. It's good. The way Lisa described this foundation is exactly how it is performing. It looks so much better now. It kind of makes me think of the Double Wear Estee Lauder. I just had no complaints about that foundation either. She said that this is a foundation that will start to look better as time progresses, which is what she prefers because she's a makeup artist, and so she likes to see the makeup like stay on the face, if not like look better and not oxidize. I think that's really cool if it is going to do that, because off first impression, when I first apply it, it's already beautiful. Like this is how my other foundations would look after like an hour or so. So I'm excited to see this foundation look better than it does now. Both sides almost look identical when it comes to my pores. It's got like a little bit, like a tiny bit of thickness on it, but like in a good way. And I love that because I'm able to use this foundation like skincare. You just rub it in there. You don't have to worry too much about it being like streaky or patchy. It feels hydrated and like slightly dewy, but not like greasy or oily dewy. And then you could still feel a little bit of that matte in there. Okay, I just finished looking at my skin in the mirror. I love it. I almost feel like it looks a little bit better when I'm looking into the mirror. I don't know why that is, because usually I look the best when I'm in front of a ring light. At this moment, I want to say this is the best foundation I've ever tried, but I don't want to say that yet because it's very hard for me to believe that considering how many foundations I've tried, especially in the past 2 years. And it's also really hard for me to say that this could be better than the Double Wear Estee Lauder foundation because that is my holy grail, perfect foundation ever. It's like, it feels great, it looks great, it works to when you want to amp up your look, when you want a natural look, it just works. So I'm not going to say yet that it is better than that one. I honestly want to now pick up the Double Wear foundation and compare these two because I need to know which one is better. As far as the formula goes, Lisa Eldridge is the best formula so far that I have felt in a foundation. I would love to know if anyone can argue against that. If someone knows of a foundation that does feel better than the Lisa Eldridge or feels similar, then I would love to know because I've been missing out. But yeah, like I said, as far as formula goes, it's the best formula I have ever felt. So comfortable to use, to apply, blends beautifully. Ironically, works better with the fingers because every foundation I have tried so far works better with the Beauty Blender. This does not work very well with the Beauty Blender. Also, I noticed underneath my eyes, it looks like I have concealer on, and a nice concealer at that. Still not completely like removing the dark circles, so I'm still going to go in with concealer, but I am so comfortable just using this alone without applying any concealer on top. The shade match is absolutely perfect. Like you can see my neck, it's just like identical to how my neck looks. Just checking in 1 hour later using my cell phone right now. I'm currently in my bathroom. This is what we are looking like. I'm gonna look at myself in my mirror. Honestly, it looks pretty identical to when I first applied it. It's just sinking in more with my skin. One thing I am noticing a difference in is my pores. They on both sides are almost practically gone. And like I said, one side had primer, one side didn't, but you can't really tell which side I have primer on. Especially when you're far away, like you can't see the pores at all. It's not like oily, it's not super oil, but it's like slightly getting there. I could really feel that matte trying to kick in and make it not too dewy and hydrating, but so far I am very happy with it. Okay, we are back about 3 hours later, and this is what we are looking like. As you could see, it still looks amazing. Ironically, it feels like it got a little bit more dewy. So I thought that when I would touch my face and touch my T-zone area that I would feel like moisture and oiliness. But surprisingly, I don't feel any of that. The way it feels when I touch it is how it felt when I first applied it. It just, on my face, without me touching it, it feels like it got more dewy. But apparently it didn't, which I think is interesting. So the fact that it has a little bit of that dewy feel, I can feel it. It is lightweight, but I still can feel it. Compared to a few other foundations I've tried were extremely lightweight to the point that I almost forgot that I had it on my face. If this were completely matte, then I feel like I probably wouldn't feel it on my skin at all. One of the coolest things about this foundation is the pore control. I almost feel like my pores are almost invisible at this point, especially when you look from afar. As you can see, like the pores almost become invisible. So really cool. I love that about this foundation. Definitely don't need a primer. You also don't need a setting powder. As Lisa Eldridge said, you don't need to necessarily set this with any setting powder because it kind of acts as a setting powder. It's kind of like a 3-in-1 product. It's a primer, it's a foundation, and it's a setting powder. It can also be a tinted moisturizer if you pair it with moisturizer, but honestly I wouldn't mind putting some setting powder on top of it because like I said, in my head it feels dewy. I mean, it's dewy and it's matte, so if you are really oily, then you probably could get away with putting a setting powder on top, and if you're really dry, then obviously you're not going to need a setting powder. I think for right now I probably would go in with a setting powder, but you could see that it's completely not necessary, and it almost kind of looks like I already have a setting powder on top. Another awesome thing about this foundation is how it made my concealer go on. I applied some NARS Creamy Concealer on top, and it just, I don't know, it's like magic. The concealer just blended in so nicely, and my concealer looks the best that it has ever looked. I think for the fact of how it's making my under eye area so nice and how it made the concealer go on so nicely, I definitely sells me on this foundation. My concealer just looks so much better with this foundation. Even as I was applying the concealer on with the beauty sponge, I can instantly tell there was a huge difference from just like how it felt when I was applying the concealer. I can't exactly say it looks so much better. If anything, it just is kind of starting to sink in with my oils and my skin and like blend in better, but I wouldn't say it necessarily looks so much better in my opinion. Like compared to other foundations I have tried, I like look at it later, I'm like, whoa, like it's almost like I'm wearing a completely different foundation. But with this one, I don't know, maybe I need to wait completely like towards the end of the day, but it's been about 3 hours. And like I said, I don't think there's like a huge improvement, but I'm totally fine with that because I think this foundation already looked amazing when I first applied it. It's not the best foundation I have tried in terms of appearance. I have just tried other foundations that looked a little bit better than this. Like for example, I think the Pat McGrath looks a little bit better than this one. After all, this foundation really was intended to make your skin more natural, and it's definitely giving that off. So overall, this is a foundation that I want to continue to repurchase just because, like I said, I really love the formula. I love what it does for my concealer. I love how it looks beautiful immediately when you apply it. I love that like soft finish it gives, like how it acts as a primer and a setting powder. So I will still use it. But I think, however, if like I'm going out and I'm taking pictures, like if it was prom or something, I probably would go for a different foundation. For me, this feels like it's going to be my everyday foundation, probably the one that I'm constantly grabbing because I know that I can jazz up this foundation. I know that I can put some really good setting powder and setting spray and then eventually turn it into like the best foundation. I will let you know how this foundation looks throughout the rest of the day. I will leave it down in the comments or in the description box. Basically like my final thoughts on what I think about this foundation as the day progresses. And that is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.